Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Freaky Friday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. No, you're not watching the wrong show. I'm Michael Fumafreddo, filling in for John Tobacco right now because I have a special message. And I've had a long conversation with my parents. As many of you know, I'm moved up to the director of the show recently. I've taken the semester off from school, so I've been here on Staten Island ever since March, really. And, I've just had a lot to think about, and I think it's time for me to actually go back to school. I go to USC in California, and, after a lot of thinking, it's a very liberal school, and I've been working on a very conservative Republican show. And after watching my boss, John Tobacco, go down to D.C. and break into the Capitol building, I thought it might be time for me to wrap it up here. And today I'd like to officially sign my letter of resignation to Mr. John Tobacco, telling him that it's time for me to end my affiliation with Liquid Lunch and move on and go back to school. I'm just kidding. I really loved what John did, and I thought it was great that he was out there supporting Trump and everything that went on. We'll talk a lot about that today on today's show, and we have a great lineup of guests to really break down everything that's been going on in the world today. Michael Johns, former speechwriter for George H.W. Bush, will come on and talk about the voter fraud and everything that went on in D.C., as well as Mark Smith, a GOP congressional strategist. Melanie Burkholder, a former U.S. Secret Service agent, will be joining us to talk about what happened in Capitol Hill. And Barry Goldsmith will wrap up today's show to crack you up a little bit and give you some jokes to maybe use at your next family function if you got those liberal relatives and you really need to give them a good laugh. Just take something from Barry Goldsmith. Other than that, we're going to talk a lot about Bitcoin. It's been up big recently, and it could even get even bigger when Joe Biden takes office. Trump did concede last night, and that was the big news around the world. He condemned all the people that broke into the Capitol building on Twitter and said it was time for a new administration to really come in and take over. And by that, he finally conceded to Joe Biden. We'll talk a little bit about COVID situation going on, especially out in California, where I'll be headed just next week. And bad news is it's not looking too good, but hopefully, fingers crossed, everything gets a little bit better and we'll be on our way very soon to a speedy and quick recovery. Other than that, there's going to be a lot going on in the world so far today. Florida's doing pretty well if we're talking about how they've handled the COVID vaccine so far. And Ron DeSantis has been taking a lot of heat recently. I've been looking through Twitter, and CNN's been bashing him for everything that he's done. Meanwhile, he's gone through pretty much the best COVID protocols of any of the senators. They're the governors that have been locking down their states, closing small businesses, and just really been taking over everything. I saw a tweet from Ben Shapiro the other day ranking all the COVID deaths and hospitalizations and each governor that corresponds to it. So obviously at the top you had guys like Cuomo, Governor Murphy,